Hi, ladies.
Hey.
Hi.
Honey, you were in the hospital. You were in the hospital for a week. A week and 2 days.
Yeah,
That's tough.
that is tough. Those beds suck.
Do suck.
They suck really bad. And then they tell you at the hospital, like, you need to get some rest.
Yeah.
You just look at them
Well,
like
they
they're
tell
insane.
you need to get some rest while
And
they
then
send somebody every
an
hour
hour.
into your room.
That's the part that gets me.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be getting rest, and they wake you up. The way they woke you up was so crazy. I feel like nobody means what they say in a hospital. Because, I mean, the way they woke you up, it didn't matter how drugged you were. They literally gyrate your arm.
Yeah, they shake the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Talking about I'm just here to check your blood pressure. Lift my arm, you piece of shit.
You can do that
You
without
can do
me
that,
being
man,
conscious.
awake. Yeah. When dude came in to check my blood pressure the last day we were there, like,
I mean,
think his
he
name
was really nice.
or
but
whenever
just
we had
seemed like-
Jared. Whenever we had Jared, the
Yeah.
tech.
I was
I
like,
was
he
like,
was really nice, but it's just like, damn.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to get my job done.
Yeah, it's a catch-22, right?
Yeah.
Because at the same time, there'll probably be some crazy person to be like, oh, they took advantage or did something while I was asleep, so they want to make sure that you're alert and you know that they're in there.
That is true.
That's
They,
true.
that
Because
does, yeah.
now-
Well,
Nowadays.
That is a thing.
one of the scariest episodes of Law and Order I watched, that was a ripped from the headlines episode,
I think I know what you're talking
was
about.
the one where the girl ended up like in a coma or something,
She was pregnant.
and she was pregnant, and she got pregnant
See?
because they were like, this janitor guy was paying to let people come and smash her,
yeah.
and so she
That's
ends up.
wild.
A doctor comes to check on her and realizes, bitch is pregnant.
Right.
And then they had to find the janitor who was letting people in and figure out all the people that he had let into her room. And then it ended up being like this crazy rich man who was trying to get custody of the baby. It's crazy. But it was like
she was like a virgin.
yeah, she was a virgin.
This chick was a virgin. She
and this
never,
happened in like a car accident. Like she was in
Yeah.
a car accident. And so that's how she ended up in a coma.
Yeah.
And so, all these years, her family thought she's being taken care of, and people were coming in her room and fucking her. She got
That's
pregnant.
nuts.
And so,
And
like,
that was a legit incident.
yeah, it was a ripped from the headline story. So, it's scary. It's sometimes, especially when you're alone. I told you both this at separate times, but this is the first time I've been in the hospital that I wasn't scared. Because even when my mom was with me, there was still kind of the disconnect of my mom has trouble separating being a nurse and being a mother. So she was there, and it was comfort because she's my mom, but it was more medical comfort, where you guys were emotional comfort. Like, you guys climbed in the bed with me, you advocated for me, and you always made sure that I was as calm as I could be, because there was so much happening.
Yeah, her care is coming from a more like clinical
Yeah.
perspective.
And clinical is so detached.
Yeah.
And we do need the clinical part.
I agree.
Because I remember, like, with my uncles and family members being hospitalized, they always tried to have, like, my mother there. My mom is not an emotional supporter for anyone, but she knows what the medical jargon means. She knows what questions to ask. She
Yep.
knows what things to keep track of. But you do need someone like that.
Yeah.
And then they would always have another person there that was more of the emotional support. And so I think it's good to have all of that. But it sucks.
ever getting one.
You were only ever getting one.
Yeah.
And then it sucks for the people that get none of it.
So part of staying in the hospital with you, I've been in the hospital for my daughter, and then everything else my hospital stays for me were I was like under 10. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they never really affected me. So it was different being in the hospital for somebody for this extended period of time, right? Especially somebody who I love and somebody who's around my age. And that's when you introduced me to the concept of caregiver stress syndrome. It's defined as a condition characterized by physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion It typically results from a person neglecting their own physical and emotional health because they are focused on caring for an ill, injured, or disabled loved one.
Yeah. We had so many days where it was hard for us both to gauge where the other one was coming from. So we ended up in situations where we had a lot of misunderstandings. And so you finally coming to me and saying, like, I don't really know what to do, or I don't understand why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. I wanted you to understand that it was a completely normal feeling. Mm-hmm. Like when you love someone and you're feeling completely helpless, that's like the definition and the hallmark of caregiver syndrome. And it happens, and I'm glad we're having discussions about it, because I have chronic pain. Like, I have some chronic stuff happening to me that there might be another time where I'm hospitalized. And I wanted you to be as educated as possible so that you didn't feel like it was me not wanting you to help. There just literally, unfortunately, was something you couldn't do.
Right. So I think that's where I had a tough time, right? Mm-hmm. Because loving and caring for you at home, it's on me. It's all on me. So it's weird not being able to be there in ways that the nurses have to be there for you. You know what I'm saying? While also put information in like they need to or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's part of their job. Mm-hmm. So being there being in that position is tough because you want to do everything. Yeah. And then also feeling like, okay, this person's not getting better. And then you start actually thinking, you start playing mind games with yourself and start saying, oh, like, this is you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are not doing what you're supposed to. When really, there's not much you can do. And that's something that I had to really, really work on. We had a couple days of misunderstandings because of me not understanding exactly. I can't do everything in the hospital. It's everything because I'm there. But if I'm not physically doing something that is helping you or curing whatever you're dealing with, you feel like shit. You feel like you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Well, and Terika, hi Terika.
Hello.
Drove here from New Jersey, and she was just here. But she's experienced being a caregiver for me. Mm-hmm. So tell me about that. What was it like in the times where you've had to be a caregiver for me?
I think what I was going to say is, like, I know it's harder for a man, for his woman to just sit and you can't do anything. And, you know, I always like to address hard things with humor, but I just think about all the men that witness their wives and baby mamas give birth and how they realize that I can't be in this situation because I really am not a part of it, but I want to be here. Yeah. But she's going through so much. I wish I could just take the baby and have the baby for her. And so
I can't remember where exactly this happens, but apparently there is this there's this thing that they do, this ritual they do during pregnancy.
Yeah.
Where they strap this like rope around the guy's nuts. So that when she's going through her contractions, she pulls on it so that they can experience pain together.
Yeah. The man that ever knocks me up is going through that. So I just want you to know, if you ever ask me to have your child, I want you to understand the suffering you're putting me through. Yeah. So and that takes me to my next point. So there's so many different layers to being a caregiver, and one of those things is, you know, the person is in pain. But it's like, for me, the hardest part is when people do not take Michele seriously when she says what's going on with her. She knows her body better than most people understand their body. And it's interesting because the school I was at recently, my client and I became close, and she was starting to get some stuff done, you know, with her allergies and things like that. And I was telling her about my sister because she knew the situation. And she made a statement and said, I wish I was more in tune with my body like that. And it dawned on me that a lot of people really do not. I know when my blood flows differently, you know. And so when Michele says something's going on with her, I immediately stop the world. All right, let's address this. What do you think is happening? And at least I get the understanding. So that way I guess I've learned over the years where I need to fit in to the picture.
I mean, but as your best friend, you know, I'm in tune with your health the same way.
Right.
Like you know, you're anaphylactic for gluten.
Yeah.
And that affects your whole entire lifestyle. So you're more in tune. It's sad because you and I have been so in tune with each other based on our health experiences.
Yeah.
But people who have never had any health issues, or maybe they only had a broken bone,
They're just
don't take stock of
Yeah.
what's going on inside me, or they dismiss it. Like, people are so dismissive.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my head's been bothering me. Like, I knew someone who said one day, like, I had headaches for a long time. And then they went to the doctor and then found out that they had a brain aneurysm.
Good God.
But they, you know,
Yeah.
like, and that doesn't make sense to me. If you don't usually get headaches and you start getting headaches,
that's
immediately a concern.
Yeah.
And like,
I
with
think
Danny,
that's the same thing. Like, as a caregiver, to me, I feel like the person that is experiencing illness, whenever they tell you something is going on and where, that's not, as a medical professional, something for you to just overlook. And I think the practice of medicine and versus the care of humans is a huge issue and a huge disconnect in our society, because our healthcare is a business. It's not the care of people. And a lot of times people have in their minds, I went to school, I studied this, I did this for a number of years. You know, I know what's going on. No,
But it's
you
still
really
part
don't.
of a machine.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
machine, yeah.
it's still part of this giant machine that we'll never
Right.
really fully understand.
The
not
biggest,
even just that, but like, as a woman of color and a woman with a disability, sometimes people don't talk to me. And I have to tell them, look, I'm cognitive. And
Right.
I'm very intelligent.
Right.
So you talking around me as if I'm not there, and it makes me like I'm already dealing with stuff. And I'm so glad that I had someone there to be like, hey, talk to her. Like,
Yeah.
like, don't talk at her. Don't ask me about her. Talk to her. My anxiety was riding me so much while I was there that I couldn't. I was so glad that Danny was there to say, like, you guys need to, like, she's not stupid just because she has low vision, and she's not incompetent just because she's a woman of color. If she's saying that she's in pain, if she's saying that something is wrong with her, then 90 minutes to 2 hours of later to get her pain medicine is unacceptable.
yeah.
Or just nurses, like, that's your job. You know what I'm saying? You don't get paid enough like doctors to just be dismissive.
yeah.
You're in the job, you're in the profession of care. Making somebody feel as comfortable. And part of making somebody feel comfortable is listening to them.
Well, you know, I always said, and I say this even now, I always said I was meant to be born, just like I say this to you, sister, we were meant to be born to mothers who were nurses.
Yeah.
Because I think if we didn't have them, we would have been dead. We would have been little dead kids a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Because we didn't have people, like, we wouldn't have had people to say, these are the questions. So many people go in there and they allow the doctors to dictate how you should care for your child. My mom wasn't about that life. She was a nurse. She was like, fuck you. You need to get your shit together for my daughter.
Like, my mom knew immediately when something was going wrong with me. And so, regardless of all the things that I have with my mother that I don't appreciate, the main thing is that as a caregiver, she's A1. And she, no nonsense, no games, no, all right, I hear what
She
you're
knew
saying.
to spot the bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
When you need people in their lives who can spot bullshit when it comes to medical.
Yeah.
And so I definitely, this set me up for, unfortunately, other things that are going to happen in the future. You know what I'm saying? We always will knock on wood and hope that doesn't happen, right? That you don't end up in the hospital. But it really opened my eyes to it opened my eyes to what it's like to care for somebody that you love.
Yeah.
And that you love so deep. And that really changed a lot for me.
And I also think that it was in August when I was sick, I was at home.
Yeah.
So you were my primary taking care of me. And so you knew that what you could do to make it better. And that changed too. Like, once we got admitted to the hospital, you didn't really know, like, you weren't responsible for bringing me my medicine, and you didn't really know what to do to make me feel better.
Yeah.
And that, I think, was a big, like, in telling you, I don't know how much I can tell you that waking up and knowing you were there helped me so much. Like, regardless of the anxiety that I did have, like, that anxiety is normal, being anxious. But I could calm down because you were there. Like, you were there to comfort me and tell me it was going to be okay.
And I love that. And I believe you when you say it. So that's the thing, right? Like, on top of the fact that men are put into this world with the automatic idea that they are here to provide, right? Mm-hmm. For you, that's an emotional thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're emotionally feeling me there, and you go, this makes me feel good.
And I think we
Where
need
a
to
guy
do a
is
better
like-
job of telling men, you don't have to provide resources in order to make me feel safe.
That's what I'm trying to get to,
Yeah.
Terika. Exactly what I'm trying to say. Is like, if I'm not doing something physically,
Yeah.
or if I'm not providing something and I'm not seeing direct results, for a man, it doesn't feel like you're doing shit. Just because of what the position that we've been pretty much told as we're born, we're here to do.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I don't take this for granted. Anything I said I needed or wanted, you made sure that while I was in the hospital, you brought me all of my comfort things. You brought me my favorite blanket. You brought me my favorite pillow. You brought me soap so I didn't have to use that hospital bullshit. Like, you brought me everything that I needed to be as comfortable as I could be. And again, that's what I needed you to do. I needed you to do the things that were going to make me comfort, that were going to bring me comfort, because so much was happening that was offering frustration and pain.
Yeah.
And then my sister came and she brought comfort things, and
Here we are.
here we are.
Yeah.
Got out of the hospital. We broke free.
We broke out. We ran up out of there.
I called my mom and I was like,
This white devil was following me out.
Let's talk about this.
Pissed me
Because
off.
we do
That
need to about the caregiver stress syndrome.
we do.
But this is the part I was debating whether I was gonna bring this up or not, because that was so foul.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a
That was on my ass so hard.
but it was just all right. So all things considered, when you asked at first while we were in the room for someone to escort you downstairs so we can get breakfast, the lady first of all tried to tell you
We don't do that.
we don't do that, knowing you've been in this hospital for 2 weeks, and every time you requested it, you got it. So that was dismissive bitch thing number one. Number two, we're leaving. They knew they knew you were discharged, and the fact of the matter is that she was on our ass from the time we left out that door to the time we got to the hallway,
elevator.
to the elevator. And not once did she stop and ask, do you all need assistance? She called someone on her fucking cell phone
She called
while
my
she's
nurse.
trying not to run into Danny and asked, do I need to escort 19 down? Like, we're some fucking mentally inept people.
And then he was like, no, I told her that her sister could take her. The bitch should have just asked, like, hey, does your nurse
guys
know
got it?
that you're, or do you got it? Does your nurse know that you're walking out of the hospital?
Yeah, he
or
said
whatever.
whatever
Like,
we needed to do is whatever we needed to do. And that was that.
Yeah.
Why? And I think some people in the health profession sometimes, and it makes me kind of doubt the reasons why people get into being in the health profession. Do you get into it for the care of people, or do you get into it to tell people that I'm a nurse and it boosts your ego? Like, that is, to me, asinine and so just that.
Yeah, because you could tell the people that were there to do it because they really wanted to care for people, or you could tell the people that were there who really...
Yeah.
It makes them look cool in their group of friends.
Which
So our
is
first-
not the thing.
Right. So
Nursing is not a leisurely walk through the park.
So our first really bad night happened the first Thursday. So we were there for 2 days.
Yeah.
Well, that Thursday night, we got a nurse, and I'll name her because she's a piece of shit, but her name was Ariana. And there was a tech, and the techs, you know, they come in, they do blood pressure, help you get cleaned up or whatever. And her name was Yolanda. Ariana first was so dismissive like all of anything I ever needed. And then she was consistently an hour to an hour and a half late with all of my medicine. So at one point on Thursday, my blood pressure went up to 179 to over 113, and they couldn't get it down. Like, and then on Friday and Saturday, they had to work on getting my pain back under control because this bitch didn't do anything.
And you know what fucked me up about that? Like, I hate to make it a race thing, but I have to.
Well, but we see
because
it,
that was the first black nurse she got there.
Yeah.
You would think a black nurse to a black patient would be more compassionate, would be more understanding, knowing how the world treats black people. All this, right? No, she was the worst. We had white nurses all the way up to that point.
Yeah.
And not one of them fucked her up like that.
And it's crazy because this is my whole entire thing. Like, and I get what you said earlier, Danny, being a caregiver, like when she's at home, it's me. It's on me. And it makes you feel better because you're like, I know I'm going to pay attention to what needs to be done.
I know she's going to get everything she needs no matter what.
I mean, every time she breathes funny, like, I'm there. But it's like, you know, when you charge the care to other people, the best thing as a caregiver you can do is let them work, but be present.
Right.
And be present with everything. And even things you don't understand, ask them, can you break that down for me? Because they will try to, like, they tried to put Michele on a fucking new medicine right when she was discharged.
Yep.
And if Michele had not mentioned it, because I'm just coming into the situation, right? And I would not have really understood that she had not been on that medicine prior to leaving.
Yeah.
So we would have picked up a whole new anxiety medicine that she's not used to, and it would not have helped her in her transition to go back home. So, you know, it's certain things like that you just have to be present. So when they came in, I'm looking at Michele like they're saying all this stuff. They're talking about all these things. I'm looking at Michele because I'm not looking at them. You're not talking to me. You're talking to her. And so, you know, I think as a caregiver, the best thing that we can do is read the room and just be present.
Well, that and, again, the comfort.
Yeah.
He climbed into bed with me to give me comfort. He climbed into bed with me to give me comfort. And the advocacy, because after Thursday night, the first thing we did was call the charge nurse. Because I didn't think about the fact that there's always a charge nurse on the floor.
Yeah.
So I waited until the morning, and the nurse felt really bad because she was like, you didn't know you could call? And I was like, no. I thought I had to wait till the morning to talk to someone. So her name was Sarah, and she was great. And she was like, so you're telling me that you had this nurse for a 12-hour period and all your meds were late? And I was like, every single one of them was at least an hour late. And she went and looked. And she was like, I'm not going to she won't be your nurse again. The only reason I got Yolanda a second time was because she was the only tech on the entire floor for that night. A bunch of people called off. But when I got her the second time, she wasn't as irksome. Yeah. But probably because somebody dressed her down.
Yeah.
So that was a big issue for me. And then a few days later, the issue became that they switched my meds. Like, it was like Monday, right, babe?
Yeah, Monday.
It was the day after I got the enema. And they came in, we saw the doctor. She was asking, is there anything else you need from us? And I was telling her, I had a CT last night, the obstructions, you know, clear. We're just going to ask them what the next steps are going to be. And so we told her we don't need anything. So she went in and changed my medicine.
It's crazy.
Like, literally, the nurse came in and was like, she changed your medicine to one dose of pain meds every 8 hours or something like that. And then something else happened, like, right after that, and I broke. Like, I started crying and everything. And Danny was like, no. Like, we're going to get this. Like, I don't care who you have to bring in this room or how long they have to be there, but we need to figure some shit out. But I had the best nurse. Her name was Sierra. And since so much stuff was going down, she was there every step of the way. She came when all the different people came to talk to me. Everything. She did everything to make sure that she
lady,
knew what was going on.
I don't know what the hell, how we were blessed with her.
She was your grace and mercy that I prayed for.
Literally I don't know. Like, till this day, I just want to hug that lady and thank her so much, because she literally sat in the room after she saw that Michele was upset.
Yeah.
After the doctor was kind of just blowing us off and the people wanted to change her medicines, the nurse sat in there for an hour and a half with us while the pain team went over her pain regimen that was happen for the next couple days.
Did y'all see her the next day? Did y'all see her after that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw her the next day, but we didn't see her. Because this was Monday, and we had her again on Tuesday, but I don't think we had her on Wednesday.
We didn't have her on Wednesday. She was off Wednesday, Thursday. But
Okay.
we definitely had her Monday and Tuesday. Like, we were so excited. She told us the day before, on Monday, she was like, "You're going to have me tomorrow again." I was like, "Let's go."
Yeah. But those are the people that makes it so much better.
She was, and she...
When you're actually doing your job, you have to focus. Like, even in my line of work, when you have hard days, you have to remember why you're doing it. Because it's the selfishness that gets into play. The selfishness and the egos that I don't really appreciate, because the expense falls on the patient.
But it's like she had other patients.
Yeah.
But because she saw she was so visibly upset and her day was ruined and she really was not being taken care of the way she should have.
Yeah.
That nurse really took it upon herself to be like, you know what, all my other patients are going to have to wait. She made Michele important.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did. Not even just... She was excellent. I love how excellent she was. But she cared. Like, you could genuinely see that she cared. And she made sure that she knew exactly what to do.
She ran down times.
She ran down time
with me every time she was in the room. She was like, "Are you ready for times?" Like, we had a great like working relationship together, where we were able to get her back on track.
And then after that, the person who was going to be there, she was like, "Okay, this is what I do for them. And this is who she is, and this is what side she sees best on." Like, when she would introduce me to the next nurse, she went down all of that. And so that's why I've got so much respect for her.
Ways. That's what behooves me about hospital stays and how I'm trying not to be in one. And then people don't really understand this is a real thing where patients get ignored, things happen, and it's a trickle down, it's a domino effect that sets other things off, and that's how patients die.
Well, you know, the thing that messed me up more, the thing that messed me up the most is that I understand COVID. I understand that COVID is that we're dealing with a pandemic, and I understand that healthcare workers are being, driven down into the ground and people are quitting. I understand all that, but not everybody who's in the hospital is dealing with COVID. Like, I felt like because I didn't have COVID, I wasn't a priority, prioritized. And that was, I think, my main issue was, like, I understand that you guys have to deal with COVID patients. Like, it's around. But if I'm admitted to the hospital, we're not an emergency department anymore. Yeah. I have a room. So if I'm admitted, obviously I'm admitted for a reason, and you need to treat me like I'm here for a reason.
Yeah.
Don't just be a bullshit, like, nurse. That's not okay.
Yeah, I agree. And then it's like, so I'm talking about the caregiver stress syndrome, sending you home, like the avocation, the fact that Danny was like, we're not leaving this hospital until you all give us a pain care regimen that she can go home on and still be okay.
Yeah.
Because they were not going to...
They tried to send me home on Monday.
Yeah. They tried to send her home on Monday, and I looked the doctor in the face. Even though he was a dick to me, they kept her there. Yeah. The thing is, you can talk to me however the fuck you want, but do what I want.
Yeah.
That's the difference. I looked that doctor in the face. I said, we're not leaving. I think it's reasonable for me to ask that we not leave here until she has a bowel movement and we have a pain regimen set and ready to go.
And that wasn't even him. That was the nurse practitioner on his team, Tamara, who said, you know what, I know this woman in palliative care, and I'll reach out to her, and we'll get her in here. And within an hour,
woman from the pain team was in there,
and we
talked about it.
And she was like, okay.
But that doctor was not going to do that.
He wasn't.
Luckily, that lady, the nurse practitioner, who, by the way, wasn't even his practitioner. She doesn't really work with him.
Yeah.
She was there filling in for that day because the main woman was out. She finally heard us and said,
she was like,
they can't get what we're trying, like what we're trying to offer. They don't need. They need somebody else.
Yeah.
And it took her to really look at the doctor and make him understand that what we're asking you for is nothing you can do, guy. Yeah. Because obviously what you're always concerned about, you're all going to be concerned about is the obstruction, which she came in for.
Yeah.
Okay? Once that's cleared, you don't give a fuck. Clearly.
Right.
So it's done. We don't need to have a conversation.
And she was the first person to acknowledge when I said, look, I deal with chronic pain. So you guys extending my pain meds to every hours without doing anything in between is not enough to keep me and my pain under control. It just won't work.
Yeah. I believe that because a lot of people deal with a lot of things, and until you actually have someone you care about that is ill and you're trying to care for them, you don't really understand what to really do and what questions to ask. And I believe that that is a source of stress in itself. But then when I came in, I knew my role in this situation was to help the two of you be better. And before I even got here, I remember pep talking myself, you got to eat properly. You have to get rest. You have to take care of yourself. So that was also another goal of mine, because it would make sense for all three of us to be down, trying to care. That would be rough. And so, when I talked to Danny when I was on my way on, I don't even remember, all the days run together, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that.
Yeah.
And he was telling me, I'm going down for an ultrasound. I said, I'll be there in 3 hours. Because I swear.
And you were there in 3 hours.
I was there in 3 hours. And I went through so much shit to get there in 3 hours. But I said, my sister will not be alone in that room. And since Danny is now down, I've got to get there. And even to the point where my job is so unimportant right now. I could get a job doing anything, anywhere, at any time. But what I am seeing more and more now is you've got to care for yourself as much as you care for others.
Yeah.
But you've really got to take care of yourself. And I know how it is staying in a hospital with someone for an extended period of time. You lose the presence to care for yourself because you're so worried about them.
Yep.
And you want them to be good. And you're like, if I leave this room for a second, I feel like some bullshit's going to go down and I'm not going to know what's happening.
Terika, you're literally verbalizing what I said.
Exactly.
You're literally verbalizing. I only went down.
Yeah.
Because real quick, for the people that are listening, I went down to the ER. We were on the second floor. I went down to the ER, which is on the first floor, because I was feeling pain in my testicle going up to my lower abdomen. But I wasn't gonna go.
Yeah.
The only reason why I went was because she asked me. She begged me to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna go though, because of how everything had gone since Thursday.
Yeah.
When she got Ariana, I did not want to be out of that room anytime somebody was in there.
Yeah.
I kept telling her, if I'm gone, send them back. Yeah. Call them back and make sure that they're back when I'm there.
Yeah.
But don't have anybody come in there when I'm not there because of the fuckery that happened.
And I mean, luckily that particular day, we had this really nice nurse named Colleen. And when she had left the room, and she came back 5 minutes later to ask me something, and she never ended up asking me whatever it was she came, because she saw that I was crying. And I mean, when he first told me, we were like, okay, we'll check it out when we get home. But then when he said that his pain was getting worse, then that's when my anxiety spiked. What's wrong? Yeah. And especially because because of COVID policies, it used to be if you were a hospital patient, you could still leave the floor sometimes.
Yeah.
But because of policy, I couldn't leave the floor. So he had to go alone. And so it was so many different things, like him having to go alone, me being scared of what was wrong with him, and me not being, it was just so much. And she came in every like half an hour to 45 minutes while he was gone, she came in not only to check on me, but to ask me, have you heard from him? How's he doing? What's going on? Like, she was really made a point of making sure that I didn't feel alone while he was away.
Yeah. Which it's amazing. But I completely understand the guilt. You know, like, it is guilt. It's straight up guilt.
It was guilt.
It messes with
it
you
was
crazy.
Really bad, because I was like, you've been taking care of me for a week. And the one time that you need me, I can't be there because I'm still in the hospital. And that was a really, really hard thing for me to grasp. It was like, wow, I can't be there for the person who has been there for me all the time.
And and that's why I was just kind of like, for me, even more so, I was like, when you get here, you know, you have to keep yourself level, because it would not serve anyone for you to get there. You get sick too. Like, and it's so crazy when you think about that. If one thing I've learned being with Michele and being sick myself is just, it's not terrible, horrible, or anything for you to tell yourself, hey, I need to step back for a second so I can make sure I'm good. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, because had Danny waited, it would have been a whole other different thing right now.
Yeah, because, I mean, his infection is bad.
Yeah.
Like, it could have got up in his kidneys. And
I mean, if he would have been admitted, and you would have been there for several days, because they would have had to try and fight a fever and some more shit down, and then it would have just been that much worse. So we do have to pay attention to ourselves, even as caregivers. We need to make sure that we're getting proper rest, that we're eating, we're hydrating, we're, you know, or even my favorite thing to do with Michele, when we either one of us feels bad or we both feel bad, we watch stupid shit, or we leave it on Adventure Time. That's why we do that stuff. And
that's why we
judge
do it.
me so tough, but I'm like, you don't understand what it's like to be someone who has bad health.
And like,
you need mindless television.
Yeah. You need mindless television. Music. Music's always my go-to. And
she
like,
puts her books on. Like,
Danny knows he knows like some of the songs that make me so happy.
Yeah.
And now he'll be like, you like that song because it makes you happy. And he just knows, like, it's really difficult for me when I'm dealing with chronic pain to be surrounded by other people's pain, especially when people consider, like, I'm very empathetic. So part of the reason I couldn't, part of the reason my anxiety was so messed up was because there was so much other people's pain happening around me, and it was crazy.
And you know, I try to be honest with my sister about what's going on with me, and because I think each person is different, but her comfort comes when she knows everyone she loves is okay.
That part.
And I don't want her to think, she knows I'm dealing with shit. She knows, even though I don't say it. And so sometimes I might wait a little bit until the situation plays out, but I do still try to tell her what's going on with me.
I know for her to you it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Because it happened on
He was like, you been telling Terika? I was like, hell no.
Yeah.
You better tell her.
Even for me, I called her, I called her and told her what it was.
Yeah.
And I had asked her if she called you. You know what I'm saying? Because like I had already talked to you, but it was right before I was about to head into the ultrasound. So I was like, I called her and I told her, and then we hung up or whatever. And then when we spoke the next time, I was like, did you tell Terika? She was like, I'm not telling Terika. She's driving here, and the last thing she needs is to freak out and have an anxiety attack. You know, but that's love. That's like mutual love between the both of you, because that's huge.
Look, it's love, but it's also like God knows what He's doing.
He does.
Because at the moment I had my breakdown, I couldn't move.
You were stuck in traffic
for an hour. I was literally
God's plan. God's plan.
And when I got through with my moment and hung up the phone from Alex, traffic started moving.
God's plan.
Traffic started moving. And I was there within 30 minutes. I swear, the journey of life right now, it's fucked up, but it's beautiful at the same time, because I feel like He is molding us for something, and it's so crazy when I actually become an observant of my life and not so caught up in this is happening to me.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the best thing that we can take from this whole situation is that not so much caregiver syndrome and the pain it causes, because it can cause a lot of pain, but the blessing that it brings. Like people knowing that they're not alone, or people knowing that, like Terika used to say, like, my fear is I'm going to die alone, and I'm going to tell you every day for the rest of our lives, I will never, ever let you think that you're gonna be alone. Like you'll never be alone, but the fear is always there. It's like if something happens to me, who's gonna be there to help? And I'm blessed to have had, and just like you, like, yes, our moms are not the most emotional ones, but they're clinical, and we know that we're safe. And that's the part that I appreciate so much, is just knowing that I was safe in a place where I don't normally feel safe. And I was safe because he was here and you were coming. Even if my mom didn't have to have her hysterectomy, she isn't my safe space. Like, you guys are my safe space. You guys are where I feel most happy, and that's why when I got home, I needed to have a sleepover in the living room. I needed to be near the two people who make me feel safe.
And we always make sure either one or both of us is near. But like I'm so caught up in, you know, when Danny comes into his cave, like Danny has his cave time. You do what you need to do. I'm not gonna be back here disrupting it. I will go sit with my sister. Like, you know, I think that the more you deal with it, the better you get at just knowing.
Over time. I'll be better about it. Over time, I learned a lot about how I need to communicate better in situations where I felt like I was useless. You know what I'm saying? When I really wasn't, but just in those high stress moments, I recognized how much of the reaction I had was to just a high stress environment. And more so to not doing anything, because I was doing everything I possibly could. I barely slept while in the hospital because I was freaking out, hoping that everybody was doing shit the right way, especially after that Thursday night. After that Thursday night, that kind of like, it shook me up.
I understand.
Because, especially because the next day, well, I knew it was bad. But I went to sleep thinking like, okay, whatever, we're just going to get through this night, and then we'll wake up and we'll take care of the situation when we get up. But I didn't know that she had like called somebody. So I woke up to her crying and talking to the charge nurse already. So that freaked me out for the rest of the time I was there, because I was like, this is why I don't want to sleep. For situations like this, where it got so bad to the point where she had to talk to somebody who was in charge, and I wasn't even there to know how bad it was until I woke up in the middle of it. That's what really shook me up for the rest of the time I was there.
But you know, the crazy thing about it is, like, I know, just speaking from personal experience, if I feel bad, I'm not particularly, we don't think that way. I'll just say that. We don't think that way. You may think that, but we don't think that way. I'm just thinking to myself, like, I can deal with this part, you know. I want you to understand that just being here, I need you to, at this point, get rest. Like, you get rest. There's other people I can call to give us both a break, but to get shit done. You know, and it's just so crazy, because I know, like, I've been on both sides for so long. I get it, but you know, it's so easy for us to lose ourselves in caring for someone else. But Michele has taught me that I have no limits to my love. And anytime she needs me to do something, I've done some things for Michele that I would probably never even do for someone that I really wanted to get up under. Like, I mean, you need a suppository, my nigga.
But that's why when
you on your own,
when she calls you her sister, you're her sister. Nobody can question that. Nobody can ask, are you blood related? Because it doesn't matter. If I'm calling you my sister, because I really trust you in that position.
So I love you guys so much. And I love how happy. Like, I love that you guys are typically my caregivers. And I love that you guys are typically my emotional support. I don't like that you guys team up against me. However...
Oh, I don't do that.
That's a sign I guess I need to sit my ass down. False. That being said...
I woke up this morning so pissed a little bit. As she came to lay with me, she was upset that I wasn't next to her, which I understand. I was not trying to fall asleep without her.
I was just feeling a little anxious. I was not upset. Upset is egregious.
I woke up and I saw her moving around.
You.
I'm listening to you. I woke up and I saw her moving around.
But this is what I'm saying.
Okay, this is what I'm saying.
Listen, but here's the thing.
Hold on.
I'm always late to the party because, I'm the one that stays up late.
Yeah.
So I knew it got really quiet last night. And I was like, what's happening? Because the light back here was still on. I was like, well, I know Danny doesn't need it, but it's just on because I turned it on. But then I started hearing...
Oh, God!
And I was like, where is it coming from? I got up so quickly because I thought this man was in here slumped over the desk. And I had to search the house.
It's only got 2 bedrooms.
I had to go to the West Wing.
He literally, I'm telling you, within 5 minutes, I swear, he was in the kitchen throwing something away. And then next thing I know, like... He moved. Where is that coming from? Who is that? What is that? And I was like, it's not Michele. Michelle's right here. I said, oh my God. I went and he literally was on his back flat in the bed.
Chilling.
Just out.
I knew he was tired because he didn't have no blanket or nothing. He
Nothing.
Lay on the bed like a
I
tree.
was like, whoa.
Because, wait. I just want to confirm, though, that's... if I don't have a blanket, right, I'm not planning to sleep.
No.
Like, that was not my plan, to lay there and just knock out like that.
Oh, God.
I was trying to finish a podcast I was listening to, and I just fucking knocked.
Because you're an old ass man.
Was just up. Literally was just up. And his narcolepsy just got the best.
I tell him he's narcoleptic all the time.
Because if he had not been snoring, I probably would have punched him in the stomach like, dude,
are you living?
That was scary.
Oh, I said aliving. We gotta use that. I like that.
Are you aliving?
And then I was like, all right, everybody. I stayed up for a little bit longer.
mean, that song said, I stayed alive, so I figured they're aliving in there.
Amen.
Okay.
So, I will say,
Get it.
let's just get us back on track. I appreciate you guys so much, and I appreciate us having this conversation. I want our viewers and fans to really understand, like, this is a real thing. Caregiver syndrome is a real thing. There are groups out there for people who, deal with caregiver syndrome. There are numbers that you guys can call. So we'll add all of those things as links in this video.
Yeah. And let us know of some times that you had to pretty much deal with this and go through it, because it's not easy. And
what did you do to cope?
Yeah,
what did you do to cope? Did you watch Jeopardy like we do? Do you tell jokes? Let us know what kinds of things that you do to help the stress.
Our pleasures for the last few days where you were really stressed out was Jeopardy and watching those like listicle videos on YouTube.
Yep. I asked for a lot of Matthew Santoil. I did. I look over at him. Can we watch some Matthew? Sure.
So that's caregivers stress syndrome. Thank you, ladies.
You're welcome.
Thanks.